So, welcome to our basic marching band tutorial. This is just a quick overview for all of our marchers. Some of you are very experienced, some of you may have never marched before. So, just a quick introduction to the way that marching band works and how it looks on paper. So, this is a football field. You will notice there's one 50-yard line right here. Those of you familiar with football already know that. There's also two of every other yard line, two 45s, two 40s, two 35s, two 30s, going outwards. This side over here we're going to call the left side, even though it's on the right side right now. And this side we're going to call the right side, even though it's on the left side right now. Because what you have to remember when you're looking at marching band drill is this is the audience down here, and you guys are going to be facing them. So if you're standing right here, in fact, let's put a little performer right there. You have a performer right in the middle of the field, right there. If you're standing there, you're facing the audience. You're on the 50-yard line. However, if I were to push you right there, now you're on this 45-yard line. And so you know the difference. We're going to call this the left 45, because when you're on the field facing this way, this is the 45-yard line that's to your left. Okay? And if we were to keep pushing you, now you're on the left 40, etc. Okay? So let's bring you back to where you were. Okay. Now, very basic. When you're marching, generally, we march in an 8 to 5 step. What does that mean? Well, you'll notice that these numbers change by 5. That's the number of yards. So from 50 to 45 is 5 yards. In those 5 yards, we take 8 steps. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps puts you on the next yard line. And over 8 counts, this is what that looks like. Okay? And if we were to show you this here, what it looks like to the audience, if you're a color guard member, it's much easier to see that way. This is what happens over 8 counts. Ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Done. And this program shows it back to start. But that's what it looks like. So in this case, since you're going 8 steps in 5 yards directly to your left, we would call this a left slide. This performer did a left slide for 8 counts. Of course, we could undo that and then have them do the opposite. And have them go do a right slide for 8 counts. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that would look like this. Or the audience's view, like this. Now what you'll notice is that this flag is not changing its direction when it moves, because the upper body of the person that's marching really shouldn't be changing. They should always be facing front. So you can see some examples of that online here. Okay, notice how all the people are facing front. They're using their peripheral vision. Okay, they're watching with their eyes, but they're not turning their heads and they're not turning their bodies the way they're marching. However, if someone's not doing that, like this guy in the background here, it's pretty easy to tell that his upper body is not facing forward like it should. Another example, more of an amateur band, but they are all facing front with their upper bodies, even if their feet are in different directions. And you can always tell when a band's in step because they always have the same foot forward. Left foot forward, 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 and then you have this person doing a wonderful job facing forward, but she's not in step. Anyway, so we covered left slides and right slides. Forwards marching and backwards marching, very simple. If I were to take this person and undo our little right slide, okay, instead we're going to have them go forward 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's forward marching for 8 counts. And you guessed it, backwards marching for 8 counts. Just the opposite. And they're actually marching backwards. So, putting one foot behind the other, if we were to look at this, this is what a backwards march would look like. That way their upper body is still facing forward. So, we covered left slides and right slides, forwards marching and backwards marching. Just a couple little moves left to do. Continue to use our 8 count example here. Undo all this. Okay, let's actually delete this person. And instead of just dealing with one person, let's deal with several people. So now I'm going to make a line. This line is going to have, how about 8 people? And it's going to go from here to, let's not do that. Instead, let's go from here to here. There's our line of 8 people, perfectly evenly spread. Now, let's say I wanted to take this line here, and 8 counts later, change it into a line that's now going to be down here. Okay, these gray lines show where the people are going to go. Now if I did it this way in 8 counts, they would simply float directly to their spots, like so. Which is kind of weird when you're watching it. Here it is again from the audience view. So that's a move where they float 8, or move directly to their spot 8 counts, taking all 8 counts to get there. However, another way they could do this is by doing it using a follow the leader. Meaning one person, not that one, this person that was here is going to go down, and everyone else is going to follow their lead. In other words, this person that was here is not going to go directly across to their spot. They're going to follow the person in front of them and do what they do until they get there. Here's what that might look like instead. So in the charts, you would see FTL 8, or follow the leader 8. And generally, I will tell you who the leader is, because a line can have 2 leaders, right? The one on this end and the one on this end. Another thing these people could do, instead of doing a follow the leader or moving their line, they could do a rotation. So here's their line again, and instead of moving the line, I could just rotate it. So in 8 counts, they're going to go from this to this. And here's how that looks. And in a rotation, the people towards the middle don't have to move as much. The people on the outside have to move more. There's an even number of people, so there is no one middle person. However, if I were to make an odd number of people, what you will see is that the middle person won't have to move at all. During a rotation of 8 counts, or however many counts it is. So this middle person right here isn't moving. whenever there's a rotation, that's what you can expect to see. And the last thing, and probably the most important thing, is what your spot is called. Your squad leaders or your teachers or your instructors that you have are going to be telling you where to go. Well, what does it mean when they say that I'm 20 steps behind the front hash between the right 35 and 40 yard lines? Well, first thing you have to know are the yard lines. We covered that in the numbers. The second thing is the hash. There are two hash marks. The front hash mark, which are these lines here, and the back hash mark. There's also the front sideline and the back sideline. So if Mr. DeLosa says to go to your spot and you say, where's that? And he says, well, on the right 45 yard line, 2 steps behind the front hash. Front hash, 45, 1, 2 steps. That's your spot. What if he says, I'm sorry, I meant the left 45 yard line, 2 steps behind the front hash? Well, then you would just slide over to the other 45, 2 steps behind the front hash. What if he says, oh, you're 8 behind the front sideline on the 50 yard line? Well, here's the 50 yard line. We just move you to 8 behind the front sideline. Another thing you might find useful is the term splitting. Splitting 2 yard lines means to go directly in the middle. So if you ask me where you are and I say, oh, you're splitting the 40 and 45, the right 40 and 45. Well, here's the right 40 and 45, and you're splitting it. That means you're on this green line here, directly between the two, 4 steps away from each of them. And you are 14 steps behind the front sideline. Well, we're going to take you and put you right there. Nope, that didn't quite work. Well, now there's 2 of you. Congratulations, you cloned yourself. Well, I think that's pretty much all you guys need to know to start the first rehearsal. So hopefully we'll be getting outside soon.